I'm here with Julian. Arsenal 1, Brentford 1. I think, Julian, it's fair to say it wasn't the most exciting game I've ever seen. You were sat next to me. I know at times you were expressing your frustration. Was it an exercise in frustration, or do we have to be honest and say, look, it's very understandable given what lies ahead on Wednesday?
Well, I was actually looking back at 2006 when we played Real Madrid, and I'm not sure how many people here or how many people without consulting the guru of Google would know who we played the Saturday after we beat Real Madrid 1-0.
Go on, tell us.
Well, I couldn't remember, but I did consult Google, and we actually lost 1-0 away to Blackburn.
Oh, wow.
And it was instantly forgettable, although now I come to think about it, I think on the 18th minute they scored their goal and we had 53% possession. But the point is, it was instantly forgettable, and this game is instantly forgettable, and it was always going to be. There would have to have been something very, very special today for it to register with any of us, because both teams are in a situation where there's not really a lot to play for, especially with Forest actually losing before we played. They're putting very little pressure on us. I think we're 6 points ahead of them. We've got six games to play. The form we're in, I can't see us. I can't see us slipping.
You're right. I mean, in terms of jeopardy, there wasn't much on it, because let's face it, we're not going to overhaul Liverpool. However, this game, for me anyway, was an opportunity for the guys that are on the periphery of the team, and he did make a number of changes as manager, to come in and make a statement and say, look, even if you don't select me for Wednesday, I'm here on the bench ready to do a job. Now, my question to you is, did any of those guys that come in today do that?
Not particularly, but they didn't do badly either. And that's why today is instantly forgettable, because you can't say, there's very few people here that are angry. Yes, it was a little bit frustrating, but they weren't that bad and they weren't that good. And Brentford weren't that good and they also weren't that bad, which means it's a nothing game, which is it's very difficult to feel emotional one way or the other, because football and being a fan is all about emotion. And there was very little emotion, especially from the crowd. And one thing Arteta called for on Tuesday night was the crowd to be very much up for it. But you can't really get that same call to action for a Saturday 5:30 kickoff against, in effect, a mid-table team when you're very secure in second place. The other part of it, talking about lack of jeopardy, is the fact that actually now 5 teams are guaranteed Champions League football. So we'd have to come 6th. In the nicest
No, I understand what you're saying there, but what about looking at it from a perspective that you want to build momentum going into Wednesday? Because form, you can't turn it on and off like a tap. So really, you want to be going into Wednesday with a win, or at least a very good performance that you can say, right, we're bang on it for Wednesday. Now, I hear what you're saying, but what do you say to those people that said, look, it was a bit flat today? I mean, we've heard from other people said that the tempo was slow, the passing was slow. What do you say to them guys?
Okay, the implication of your question is that if you play badly one week, it's going to have an effect on how you play against Real Madrid on
No, not necessarily.
on Wednesday
I'm
night.
talking about momentum and tempo.
but
I'm not saying that
yeah,
because you didn't play well today, you won't play well on Wednesday. I'm saying ideally, you want to set that standard so when you go into the game on Wednesday, you're very confident knowing that the players are bang at it.
Well, that's exactly, you've said it again, just you've rephrased it.
Yeah, to help you understand.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understood the first time round. Is what you're saying is that if you have a lack of momentum, a bad performance today, it could have an effect, because football is a game where you have confidence, and confidence plays a big part of it. But I'll take you back to last Saturday at 12:30 when we had, in my view, an absolutely abysmal performance against Everton, which was followed by probably the greatest performance I've seen, bar maybe the Barcelona game in, when was it, 2011, 2012, against Real Madrid. So that doesn't follow. So if you
that's a good point. That's a good point.
I thought it was a very good point. Thank you.
I'll give you that. That's a good point. But listen, both things can be true at the same time, right? So, like I said, there is that. I mean, for example, there were a couple of players today that just weren't up to it. Trossard, Martinelli, to name but 2. Odegaard when he come on. Are you not a little bit concerned?
Not really, because of what I think recency is the thing that you remember most. You can call it recency today, but we all knew today wasn't wasn't going to be as important. So the recency was, again, we see a poor performance at Everton, followed by one of the greatest performances I've seen. So I'm still on a high, and I think a lot of people are. And again, that's one of the reasons why people just aren't that angry and that frustrated, because everyone realises that today was pretty much of a nothing game. There wasn't a lot riding on that game. So
that being said, though, I thought there were a couple of players that did play well today. So I thought Saliba was really good. I thought Kiwior was good. I thought Partey was very good. So, you know, there were some players that did step up, right?
Yeah, as I said, there was no great performances. There was no, 30-yard screamers from Declan Rice.
But don't expect him to do it every week.
Yeah, but there was a couple of good corners, and that's kind of what you've got to say. It's like, Rice took some terrific corners. It's not quite as exciting as a 30-yard screamer against Real Madrid, is it?
Yeah.
But you have to, let's take the positives. Rice was good. That, the goal Arsenal scored was a terrific goal. You take that particular moment of play, Raya, sees the opportunity. He's not just, he's picked out the cross. If I was picking out the cross, I'd sort of take the applause of the crowd for 5 minutes. He's not thinking about that. He's throwing the ball really quickly. They're on the break. Declan Rice takes the guy on, and they're through. They're through. It's the kind of play that you go to football to see. It's exciting, very fast football. You talk about Arsenal being sort of, they get frustrated against low blocks. That passage of football, again, if you take that in isolation, was one of the most exciting goals of the season, because it was end to end. We take the ball, that, Partey gets it. And I have to say that when I saw the player on the overlap was Partey, I thought, well, that's the end of that, isn't it? I was hoping for a Martinelli, someone with speed, Saka, whoever's got a bit of speed. Partey, to me, hasn't got speed, but to be fair to the guy, he was, he overtook, he was on the overlap.
A lung-busting run and a good finish.
Lung-busting run. I thought the goalkeeper, he got down on his knees, he did a bit of a seaman against Ryan Giggs.
He struck that very well. He would have taken a really good start to keep that out. That was a great finish.
He did strike that very well, and Ryan Giggs struck that very well, but I still blame Seaman for getting on his knees. That's not, having played in goal myself, I'm not that great, but I was all right, especially at five-a-side. And it was also Maccabi League. I was one of the tallest there. It's a bit different, but a goalkeeper really shouldn't get down on his knees.
Okay, enough of that, getting down in your knees. Let's talk about the game on Wednesday, because that is the elephant in the room, as I've been saying to other people. How confident are you going into this game on Wednesday that we can go there and pull off the result that we want?
Okay, I was so confident on Tuesday night. For me, it was done. I was just going there to eat paella, enjoy the moment, and have basically a 3-day holiday. The closer it gets to the game, the more nervous I become.
Why is that?
Because there's a name there of Real Madrid, and Real Madrid has this kind of thing that it's a fear factor.
Aura.
It's a fear. Yeah, it is. As an opposition fan, aura, fear factor. But the Real Madrid that I saw on Tuesday night has no fear. But again, you get nervous. You get nervous as a football fan. You will start to get nervous, and ultimately, if they get an early goal, will Arsenal start to get nervous? Because if they do, 3 goals with in the Bernabeu can happen in,
Of course it can happen.
Not instantly, but very quickly.
We did it last week. We got 3 goals in 18 minutes. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, just to finish, you're confident, but with caveats, you're confident we can get the job done on Wednesday.
I was very, 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 very confident on Tuesday. The nearer it becomes, I become slightly less confident. But look, I was always, every time Arsenal play, I believe Arsenal are going to win. Otherwise, I wouldn't go.
Well said.